Oh my gosh.
Hi, everybody. It's Nancy Reyes with For Your Canine.
Joanne Soike with For Better For Worse.
And Lisa Bataska with K9 Defined.
Welcome all. Let us know you're there. Today, our topic is offered behaviors versus
Cued,
cued
prompted.
prompted behaviors versus basically, we're going to be talking about uh, helping dogs choose behaviors and kind of working through that. Not that we don't behaviors or cue behaviors, but we want to really talk a little bit about some of the benefits of doing some things where they're getting to choose, or they choose the behavior and we just reinforce it, which is really a lot like shaping. But I think shaping, back in the day, not that we don't use it, because we do, that we have, um, I think we overused it so much in the past that it's actually become pretty. See, this is not an offer. This is not a cute behavior right here. Anyway, so I think we've overused it. So we're just going to talk about it in a little bit more simple terms, and how we can use it to get a little bit more, develop our relationships, and get better behaved dogs, right? So that's kind of our goal for all our Facebook lives anyway. But this is just another way to kind of think about things, and that's what we really want you to do, is to think about um, another way to train and work on stuff. So Joanne's frozen. Are you there?
I'm here.
Yes.
Yeah, she's moving.
Yeah, she was a little
I'm
frozen.
not frozen. I was just very still.
Wow. You could do that.
It's this weather. It's the weather.
Right? So cold. Anyway, so what is a cued behavior? Like, we're gonna define it, right? What's a cued behavior? To me, a cued behavior is you ask your dog to do something. You ask your dog to sit or down or whatever. You ask them for a behavior. That is, to me, a cue or prompted behavior, right? And the other is the um, offered, right? So dogs offer behaviors all the time, but we get to choose sometimes what to pay or what to reinforce, right? Because what you reinforce, you get more of, typically, right? Or what they find reinforcing is also what you get more of, like barking is very reinforcing to the dogs, even though we
I,
don't teach that. But go on.
I also think the other thing about cued is, yes, it's verbal, but it also could be nonverbal, like we were talking earlier before we got on, right? It could be a prompt. So a perfect example that we were talking about was people say "watch me," or in some cases, some people will take the cookies and hold them to the side to wait for the dog to look at them. That's still a prompted behavior. So those, it could be verbal or nonverbal based upon our actions, depending on for cued type of behaviors. I think that's something to point out.
Yes, right. Because I mean, our dogs are very in tune to our body language. So a
Mhm.
lot of times, for example, when you ask a dog to sit, you also can prompt them by stamping your foot. Sit, because we've seen that a few times in our lives. So yeah, it's any kind of uh, cue behavior is anything that you're asking the dog to do, whether it's verbal or nonverbal, right?
Mhm.
That's a cue behavior, which is how we spend a lot of our interaction with our dogs. Where offered behaviors, our dogs do something and you're like, oh, that's wonderful. And you reinforce it. And all of a sudden it becomes, something that they repeat because they offered it. It was on their own volition. And you just caught it and captured it. And voila, now it's a new thing, right?
Right. Well, let's
So,
talk a little bit about like the benefits. Like, what are the benefits and what are the drawbacks, right, to cued behaviors, right? So, Joanne, do you want to jump in on that one? What do you think?
Sure. I mean, I think we all use cued behaviors, right, to keep us safe, to keep other people safe. Um, so, for instance, and I am a bad person, but it's my dogs will jump on people. They will, and I don't care. I mean, I care, but I don't. So, I remind them, don't jump on that person, right? So that's like a verbal cue. I also have one, right? We go to a lot of shows, and I have intact male dogs, so I made a verbal command that says, "Don't pee on that," right? And they know what it means. I mean. Right. Because you can see them start to square up on something. Don't pee on that. And they're like, oh, okay. But, sharing that the crazy pointy eared one of mine, right? He needs a ton of verbals cues, right? For everything. Like, stay with me, watch, don't do that, come over here, right? And so a lot of it, I talk a lot with him verbally just to not die. So
he needs info,
but it's he given his, because he will not offer a lot of things. He is on his own agenda, and so a dog like that needs a lot of cueing or verbal prompting, or putting things onto requests.
Well, yeah, because one of the things you do want to see is what your dog does on its own. Like if they're free to choose, and that's a big one that we do. If they're free to choose, do they choose to be with you, or do they choose to do other things? That's a really good information, because a lot of people think, oh yeah, my dog, he's very well behaved, or he does what I ask. But if you didn't have the leash, and you, like in Suzanne's words, if you were naked on a mountaintop, mm-hmm. You get your dog, what can you get your dog to do? Will the dog stay with you? Will they take off? What will they choose to do? Right? Because that speaks volumes about the relationship with the dog, right?
Well, I think too, like, if you look at the power of choice for anyone, what are the benefits? Like, when they're given choice, it enhances their learning ability, enables them to learn, to understand the reward system, like how things work. And choice also reinforces positive behavior and elevates the self-confidence, right? So, and I think it's all relative to what you're doing. If I'm doing a sport, if I am not dealing with a behavioral issue, or let's take, for example, a teeter issue. My dog's worried about the teeter. They need lots of choice to learn to be confident around that. If that is not something that they have really big, scary feelings about, and you can work up to that depending on what the goals are. And then you have to consider, is it even fair to the dog, et cetera, et cetera. But giving them choice to encounter stuff, I think, is really important. And it helps to reduce the stress, right? And then increase the relaxation, contributing to happier disposition overall. And that was something we had looked up to kind of define it. And I think I don't think we use this enough as a technique when we're training our dogs, specifically for, I prefer more offered behaviors for regular everyday stuff for the most part, with exception to, hey, don't run into the glass. That's a bad idea, stuff like that. But, yes, you have to give information. But when they do it on their own, there's the light bulb moment comes on, and it's awesome to see that.
Yes. Yeah, because you want, especially like I use, I'll be honest, I use a lot of unprompted when we have for recalls. Like, I want the dogs to choose to be with me, and I would like that that they don't leave, and they use a choice to stay with me. So I do want them to choose instead of me calling them all the time. I want them to check in with me, and they can offer the behavior to stay with me. So that's kind of how I use it for that all the time. And now I'll be honest, I have dogs that I don't really need to do that a lot with, because they don't really go anywhere anymore. I have the opposite problem. They don't want to, they stay with me all the time. Yes, they're always. They're always.
So there was an interesting thing today. So, well, it kind of came together. My husband's all happy about himself, very proud of himself for getting this accomplished. So I'm like, okay, yeah, we're married 30 years and God knows how many dogs in between, and he finally got something right. Anyway, so he's sitting on the couch. sitting on the couch, and Mick, he jumps up and he's like, touch me, I want to be on your lap. So my 6.5-month-old puppy wants to do that. Well, my husband decided, no, you can't do that. You have to sit before you, then I'll pet you and then I'll invite you up. He finally got it. My husband's like, wow, he got it. I'm like, he got it because you're consistent, you maniac, right? I mean, you were consistent about what your requirement was and you kept doing it. And then he's like, I'm looking for patterns. That's how I get it. So now he'll go over to him and sit and look at him. He's like, look, I'm sitting. And then he's like, well, I'm not going to pet him every time. And I'm like, well, then you have to put it on cue, correct? Oh, do you want,
Right.
something? So those are some things to think about, right? How we use it every day. And
Yeah.
he was pretty proud of himself. Actually, I was a little proud of him that after all this time, something stuck. So
It's only been 30 years.
just took a bit. That's all.
Well, and also, if you attend any of our classes, most of the time we teach the behavior, we get the behavior first,
Yes.
and then we put a cue on it.
Right.
We don't start with saying sit when the dog doesn't know what that means.
Right.
So we always just right. All of us train that way. We get the behavior, then we put it on cue. That's kind of how it goes. And most positive reinforcement trainers do it that way, right? I would say.
Yeah. And talking about offered behavior and starting it as early as you can, it's hard for people because they want to quote unquote socialize their puppies, right?
Mhm.
And so I can't tell you how many times I have to bite my tongue with, seeing it around people I don't know. Pass the puppy. It's like, no, they should have a choice of who they want to go to, who gets to touch them. Same thing with dogs, right? I can't tell you how many times a dog might put the human between themselves and another dog, and people are like, oh, come say hi. And they, steer the dog over to the other dog when they've clearly chosen to not have that interaction, or things that the puppy finds maybe worrisome or scary, or just, I don't know what that is. Give me a second, right? And instead of just letting that dog figure it out, or choose to say, not right now, we're always pointing at it and touching it. Come here, check it out. Look what's this, right? And without meaning to, you put more pressure onto that situation anyway. So, I think when we get down to just the core of who dogs are, just taking a minute and not making it all about, do this, do that, come see what I want you to see, and asking them instead, right? You start to understand a little more about your dog and what they like, don't like, things they find fun or scary, or fill in the blank.
Right. And one of the things we see really, really often is, and we see it in with human children, parents or owners that are constantly telling that animal or that person what to do all the time. They get no choice of any kind ever. And they feel that the individual feels they need to control that being all the time. Otherwise it's going to be a problem. And that it's it's challenging, because when the dog or the child or person is left to their own, they are unable to make decisions and choices for themselves, because they need that. They basically have this learned helplessness. They just are waiting for somebody to tell them what to do. They're not able to make decisions or choices or anything on their own, which is really sad.
So I think one of the other things we need to think about is which is better utilized where, right? In different situations. So, you have an unruly teenager, then you might have to step in and cue some behaviors because they're having a hard time keeping it together. We also need to reassess if it's too much stress for the dog, like Joanne was talking about. I also think that, there's nothing wrong with cueing behaviors, but you want to be careful, right? I mean, I'm not really good at being micromanaged. I need to have some opportunity to make choices and learn from them, right or wrong. And I've made plenty of bad ones. But, and I think that's kind of the same thing with dogs. The difference is that we are keeping them safe. So we have certain things that, cues that we do. However, if you're looking at confidence building, I think offering behavior is really cool. To see the dogs blossom, right? Because they do. And we did the video of the little Papillon who was working on coming to hand because they had some handling concerns. And he's like so much better. But it's still a process because the feelings were so big for him. And it was kind of like highlighted because I think when Joanne was talking about how, hey, when we keep asking the dog to touch the scary thing just to prove a point so they can get over their fears, we actually highlight it and make it a thing. And then the dogs are like, yeah, I'm not a fan. So, those are some of the things that you have to consider, like, which is better, and it all depends on your dog and what your goals are you're trying to achieve at that time.
Yeah. And I just want to throw this out there too, because it's more rare, but I think as the training world shifts a little bit, we're starting to see some odd behaviors pop up. And so I have also seen people say, I never want to give my dog a command. I'm just going to mark things when they happen. I can't think of a more confusing way to learn things. Somebody be like, yes. And you're like, what did I do? I have no idea. Right? And then you don't, right? When you're marking it without adding a cue or working on something specifically, right? It's like, I don't know what I did. And then you say yes again. And maybe, is it the same thing I did or is it a different thing I did? It's just, I can't believe how confusing that is as learning. Right.
Yeah. And I think like everything, it's a happy medium, right? You go one extreme or another, you got to find something in the middle for the individual. So yeah, for sure.
Well, and that's where, like to Joanne's point, the people who do a lot of shaping, because it's like, is this it? Is that it? Is this it? Is that it? And waiting for that behavior. And I've seen some trainers really like confuse the hell out of a dog. So I think it's something to have in your toolbox, but it's not one size fits all.
The border collies of the world get a complex.
Oh gosh, twitchy.
Right? Oh yeah. Is it this? Is that?
Oh my, yeah. You see that a lot.
Yeah, you do. Yeah.
So I have a video that I wanted to show. If we go to the video of Emma 1, 2, and 3. So
do you want me to get it or do you have it, Nancy?
Do you mind? Yeah, do you mind if you throw it up there?
Is this the first one?
Yeah, so it's Emma 1. And basically, so this is a young dog who, when we first started working, she's a golden retriever.
Okay. Here, I got it. Hold on.
Emma 1. So let me just preface this. So she came to us. She would never offer eye contact. It's been a long haul to get her to offer eye contact. She would just be like, okay, let's go. Whatever way we're going, we're going. So we had to rework attention. We did the up and down game with her, which we'll get into with other stuff. And then we also now she's able to be more functional, but she still is used to being cued quite a bit, if that makes sense. And if you see the video, you'll be able to see what it looks like. Because I did 3 different.
I'll get it.
You got it?
Yeah.
Okay. So the first one is we were just letting her come out of a crate to be able to do a search. That's it. And what we did was made it super easy. You can play any point and then just mute the volume.
Gotcha.
So this dog pulls on leash. She's a teenager. She's maybe not quite 2. She has fear senses. She didn't even know what we're doing here. And we were just asking her to use her nose. I mean, can you walk and smell stuff? It's choppy on my end. I don't know if anybody else is getting it.
It is on my end as well.
And then she would offer like, oh, the cookie's here, and she'd offer a sit. Let me see. And then she started throwing out and offering behaviors because she almost was confused as far as what the task was. So let her out of the crate, had her on leash because she was going to run to the door, tried to help her a bit here. She had a hard time and she couldn't find the treat. And it was just a treat in a cone or whatever. And then she finally found it, and then we helped give it to her there. don't know why this is so choppy.
Yeah, it
Is it
is.
choppy on your end?
No,
It is.
not on my end.
It is on my, well, it's the, yeah, it is on mine as well.
So, yeah, it was weird. Anyway, I don't know if everybody else was choppy, but hopefully it wasn't. But the next one was the second piece. So we did back to back to see what would change. And then she kind of figured out, oh, hey, wait, I can do it on my own. So,
Coming.
sure, no problem. Thanks, Joanne.
Yep, no problem. Do.
Oops. We lost Nancy. Bye, see ya.
Uh-oh.
That's okay. She'll come back on, I'm sure. I wonder if she popped off to see
Where'd it go?
if maybe.
Sorry about that.
I'll put him in.
I touched the button.
I was like, where did she go? Maybe she's resetting. Who knows? So let me put it in the private chat.
Yeah, see if I can.
What is happening here?
Emma 2 and Emma 3. Sorry, guys.
Okay.
There
hold-
it is. I got you. Okay.
Let's see if this works better. So we did 3 reps, and the second one is still a little choppy, but I'm not sure what's going on. She came out and she finally found the kibble on her own. She found the kibble, but she was still kind of looking for information. But you could see the body change. If this is a little smoother, you could see some of the body change. Then we did it back into the crate, and then on the third one, she came out and she figured out, oh yeah, we're doing this. But I see this is a second search.
Yeah. Hey, Joanne, let me see if I can do it on my end. See if it's less choppy. I don't know if that'll make
Okay.
it.
There you go.
I don't know, but we'll give it a try here. Oh, let's see.
Just when you think you're all organized.
I know, right?
There, that's better. That's interesting. How's it on your end, Joanne?
It's fine on my end, but it must be my Wi-Fi.
Oh, okay. She's like, let's keep going. Maybe play the first one again, Nance, do you think? Let me get that first one in there for you and see.
Yeah.
So you can see the difference because the body language was really kind of cool. It's like, oh, awesome. Here is the first one. Sorry.
Oh. Alrighty, let me see.
Sorry.
Yeah, she did look a little weird, huh?
Yeah. And she's like, I don't know what's happening. What's going on? Can you help me out here?
Yeah, yeah.
And she does. She worries when she doesn't know what's happening next. So, like, you know, if you don't do these things with a dog, sometimes they get worried at first. But what's crazy is it really does affect, and she had to help her with this. She had to do it again. But see how she's offering a lot more behaviors because she's like, I don't know what to do and how to win this game. And so then we put her back into the crate and tried it again. So with repetitions, if you do the Emma 2 and then Emma 3, you'll see a difference in the way that she's processing it. And it's almost at the third one was pretty cool to see because she's like, I got it. She gets some climbing behavior, pulling because she wants to go to the door. Wait, I think I smell something. Oh, there it is. So you can help without helping, as you know, by kind of being in the area, especially with a dog that's new. She's like, let's do it again. So then on the third one,
Okay.
watch her coming out and how quickly she figures it out. Do you got it? 3. I just see Emma search too. Sorry.
Oh, sorry. Hold on.
Hello.
I have to re-add it every time. Stinkers.
Oh, that's interesting.
Let's see. Okay,
I know
sorry.
mine was doing that too. That's what took me a minute.
So now she's able to sit in the crate and wait with the door open because she has some impulse control there. And that we don't prompt. She offered it because she's like, this is what we do. But she's more able to sort. That's where she won the last time. She's like, help me. Whoa, it's around here somewhere. She needed help to get back on task. She's like, it's not in there. I thought it was. So she's resetting her to see, because she still came out hot, right? And a little more jumping around and still sorting. And so now she's like, hey, wait, get in your crate. Hold on. There's a prompted. Now she's going to step back and see if she gets it, or turn her around and start her, because that's how she handles this. Oh, there it is.
But yeah, she still does look for a lot of information.
Yes. And so she is cued quite a bit. So we did this a little longer with her on this third one because I wanted to see this third one's probably more appropriate, or provides a lot more visual for you. But we just wanted to see, like, in this, she's not a super confident dog. So this, and look at her kind of be more thoughtful. Look at how it changes. It's like, how about this? Down is good.
Yeah, she's still looking for lots and lots of information.
She's trying to sort it, right? But there she's like, wait a second. Oh. And it knocked down and she got it. But look at her too.
She's a judgy little Shih Tzu mix in the background.
The what?
I said, if you go back, like, just real quick, there's like a judgy little Shih Tzu in the back. Like, come on.
We'll see him again. Let me see who it is. Was he giving the mad eyes? Grr.
No, he was just like, you could just tell he was like, what's wrong with you? Sorry.
And so she tried to make it easier by getting her to be more successful. By the way, that little white puppy is Jody's puppy. It's a great peer pup.
Oh my God, so cute.
Yeah, he is very cute. He's very nice puppy. Very busy for a peer.
Really? Yeah.
Very busy, yeah. And then she's like, what if we just walk back and forth? And I'm not giving you anything. She's like, is this a stay? Oh, wait. There it is. Good girl. But you see her motions are more, she's more thoughtful, right? She starts to slow down a bit. I mean, she's not like super thoughtful right now, but it's better than when it started.
Yeah, way better.
Right? And then
she's less hectic and frantic, yeah.
Yes, right. And I thought this was a pretty good thing, and it kind of exemplified kind of what we're talking about tonight, where some people will cue, and then when you cue, that happens. Oh, I found it right there. So we did this a few times with her, and I kept taking videos. I'm like, I don't like that one. Let's try it again. I don't like that one. And she's like, okay. She's like, there it is. Oh, that's Walter in the background, the little brown guy.
Yeah.
Walter's like, I could do it better.
Yeah.
So, but I thought this was kind of a good video because you see how she's just, we're helping her out, try to get a little confidence, but then also she's got to control herself a little bit. We're still saying you still got to have a brain. And she is cueing, not into the bag, but cueing her. She's like, come on, get with the game again.
How old?
She is not quite 2 years old. And she's been coming for a while because she's a tough one.
Yeah, I was going to say, that's a lot of dog there.
She is, and she lives with a family, and that was it. Yay, go. No, I want to keep going. So I just thought it was interesting because you saw her, like when she came out, she was, what are we doing? What are we doing? She didn't know that she had a choice to kind of do something different. It was like her head was going faster and stuff. So I thought that was an interesting one.
Yeah, but you can see a dog like her can lose her mind a little bit, trying to offer stuff for you to, you know what I
Right.
mean?
So we had to help her. But I mean, I think it's like you said, it's a balance, right? Because if she's always told what to do, she's never has to think on her own. She goes on
Yeah.
autopilot. But then if you go purely offering, so we still helped her by directing her, no, you have to come around this way. No, you have to do this. These are the rules. So there was cueing, but also prompting. I mean,
Yes.
offered.
So playing on that for just a minute, and I remember Suzanne always used to talk about this, which is like when you're using cued behaviors to try and capture the dog's brain, right? Your cues have to change, right? If every time you want to go out the door, I ask you to sit, pretty soon you know that game and you don't even have to think about it, right? It's like I go to work and sometimes I'm like, I forgot, when did I pass that building? Because you're on autopilot. And so if you're like, sit down, sit every single time,
Right.
I don't actually need my brain for that, right?
And that's the foundation for Suzanne's puppy politeness poker. Basically, you have behaviors that they've learned, and then places you would use them. And I think for a while back, she was doing a card game where you had five cards where you'd have, different behaviors your dog knows well, like a sit, a down, a spin, or whatever. And before you let him out the door, you would pick a card, ask him to do that behavior before you let him out. That was just part of the way of incorporating some of that into the dog's life, because we humans have kind of a hard time being random or being, being random. So this kind of helped us be a little bit more random when, like if they wanted to get on the couch, what do they have to do if they got on this, that? So the puppy politeness poker, which is what Joanne was, really helped that. It's like, okay, you want to go out the door? Okay, and today we're going to ask you for a down instead of a sit, or ask you for a spin or a high five instead of a, obviously they have to be behaviors your dog knows, right? It can't be something that your dog has no clue what to do. You'd have to teach them those things and have them kind of, on the ready to be able to use in different places, so that the dog, because like Joanne said, it's like, oh, she's going to ask me to sit, then she's going to ask me to do this, and then she's going to ask me to do that. I already know that. So they don't even have to, they're on autopilot. But this way, if you change it every time, they're going to be like, okay, let's see what she's going to ask me today. There's more tension there, right?
Well, you see that a lot, right? When people offer the food bowl, oh, they can stay, sit and stay. And I'm like, have you asked them to do something else? Right? And that's when it all falls apart. What do you mean we're doing something different? We never do that. So I think that's the other thing too, is like making them engaging their brain, their thinking part, right?
Right.
So,
well, especially with asking them to do different things, it does help you get a lot more attention, right? Because they have to pay attention to get whatever they want or whatever that they're desiring at that moment. So yeah, I that's a good point. And like I said, we don't have and you don't have a video of that, Lisa. I wish I did.
Which one?
The Follow Me game.
Yes, I do. I'm putting it in chat right now.
I like
Ozzy.
Yeah,
so let me see. I don't know if it'll be the same with.
See, I have.
So again, we do a lot of teenagers because everyone loves them. A lot. So here's a dog who he's a young guy. He's not 2 yet. Working on the Follow Me game, which is Suzanne's as well. I love that. I do that with all the dogs. I think it's a really cool game where they have a choice. Some people prompt it and say heel or whatever. This is Follow Me, where it's your choice. And so this was back in the summer when it was nicer out.
No kidding.
Yeah. And we attached a long line to them. There's a big open field I have at the side of my house, and she's first getting engagement, so I'm showing the area. She walks, he checks in with her and is at her side, she pays. But notice her body language too, right? She's not looking for him and begging him to be with her. He's just following her, and she's like, yeah, good job. Good boy. This was the first time we played this game with him out in the yard. So he's choosing to follow her around the way.
That's your yard.
That's a side yard.
That's nice.
I know.
Must be rough.
I know. It's yucky
But
now.
She started to do what I like, because eventually at some point you want to get it to where you're kind of trying to lose the dog, right?
Yes.
Moving, zigzagging, going in different directions. And she did a little bit of it, because you want the dog to really have to keep up. If you keep too many straight lines or too much predictability, it gets
boring
tough.
for some. Some dogs are like, okay, stupid, got to go do my own thing.
Yeah, right.
Right. And so now what we did here was we took away the visual prompt of food in pockets. And I said, put some cookies in your pocket, because this is the next part that's hard with this. So your dog, right? This is why relationship's important. Now look at the difference. He's like, oh, I don't, yay, good job. She's like, I got to pet him. And then I'm going to go. He's like, what the heck? That was weird. How come you didn't? So we were trying to show the owner that there's other ways to do this to get him to follow you without having cookies, because, that's everybody's concern. Well, I have cookies, so, they're going to follow me. But if you take away the visual, the treat pouch, and then you see the difference, right? He's very visually cued.
Yes. Yeah, he is.
And this is where, I don't know about you guys, but I hear, well, if I have treats, they're fine. I'm like, well, you got to get a little more sneakier about your treats then.
Right.
So then I think we went to cookies. I said, watch your hands, because he's looking. And she did have treats. And I said, put him then he smelled something. Yay, cookie. He's like, oh, back there. So I said, put some cookies in the pocket, right? So if he knows now the cookies are over there, and this is all playing with where his understanding is, or what we need to tweak, what thin slice we need to cut out to make it more. And then he's like, there she is, because I was filming. And then off to a sniffing. And then she moved faster to try to get him to follow her. So that was a visual cue on that end, making it more exciting, right? Because he did. When it was boring and stupid, he's like, this is dumb, I'm out.
Yeah.
So you got to you're going to lose him.
Yeah. And that was good on her part. She, for dogs that'll check out, that means they're not quite ready and increasing your movement, but you don't want to be running around too much, right? Eventually you want to get them to where they can just follow you. But it's and definitely like done here, definitely want a long line safety. If you have a big open fenced area, then you don't need that. But
good.
All right. Yeah, especially and as the dogs go through different hallmarks in their development, right, and all that, you might have a stellar day where they're coming and they're not leaving and they're perfect. Then you don't. So, and the follow me is the reason we don't cue it initially is because it really does help with the recall. So initially you want the dog to keep track of you and follow you. And then, because then a recall isn't that necessary because they stay with you. But also when you use a recall, it's very meaningful, right? They're used to coming to you. They've already made that great association, and adding a come when called after that. But it's also the dog's responsibility. So I do this a lot. I'm not going to lie. This is one of the few things I don't do. I don't train hours a day, but when my dogs are young, I do this quite often. So I'm currently I've done it with all my dogs, and all my dogs stay with me no matter what. The only one that's having a little difficulty with it is the beagle. We're working on it. She still needs a long line because she'll be like, what's over there? And I think that has to do with just who she is and just definitely connecting and having a better relationship. It's better now. Because we're doing more things together. We're doing barn hunt and nose work and all that. So it's better. But you can see she's like, well, I got I'm going to be sniffing and do other stuff over here. I'd rather, but it's so different when they offer it, when they choose to come and be with you. They choose it and then get so used to choosing it that it just becomes automatic as they get older. And so like Jive and Tango, we can walk, they can be off leash. They come, I go to my car, they're going to be right there. I don't even have to call them. They don't have to, I have to do that. My young puppy is also the same way. He's very much stays with me. Like I said, the Beagle, it's a work in progress. We still have to do more work on that because she'll be like, oh, there's something better to sniff or something else that gets her attention. She's out. So
I think too, the follow me game will also help with loose leash walking, right?
Oh, totally.
Yeah. So, I mean, it has a benefit and it's a choice, right? And you're not as if you're not cueing it. You're just moving. And if the dog's with you, yay, good puppy. And I don't, when I do it, and I'm sure you guys are the same, you don't care what side they're on initially, just as long as they care where you're at, they care about where you're going and so forth. But I really like that. That's a foundation piece I do. I also do in class.
And also, you definitely want, it's good for loose leash walking and all that. And you definitely want to do it as your dogs, especially those of you who have adolescent dogs. It's really important because they need to understand it's their responsibility. And the reason Suzanne came up with it, because usually when the dogs are off leash, we are the ones keeping track of the dog. Fluffy, come. The dogs can hear you. The dogs know where you are. So they don't. That's why with a recall, when I tell people, just don't call them, just be quiet. Because the dogs are guaranteed they're used to being called all the time. So they know where you are. So they're not that worried about it. And when you have a young adolescent, like I said, my puppy's a little needy. So he's pretty easy to call out of play. They could be playing and he'll come off of it no matter who he's playing with. He has friends he plays with and he enjoys it. But the minute I call him or that I'm not there, he loses his mind and he wants to, or he'll stop and come to me. So I don't have to worry too much about, him running away or whatever. I feel pretty confident that he ain't going anywhere. Like I said, the Beagle, she's a little different. She definitely wants, she's like, I got other stuff to do. I like this better, right?
So. Yeah. Well, and speaking of losing your mind, right, I think impulse control is a really big one when we talk about choice versus cued behavior, because if you have a dog that's losing its mind, you can cue all you want. And for the most part, they're not really able to hold it together, right?
Yeah, right.
So when we put the offered behaviors and we teach those very, very well, and I'll give you an example. I always talk about him, but he is who he is. Bam, just a simple act of going outside at my house, at our home where we live, we do 100 times a day. So, he can't wait to get through the gate. And then he runs up at the sliding glass door and he'll spin, right? And most of the time that means there's a squirrel out there. But I don't care because, if I don't require him to put some self-control on himself, when I open that door, he's hit himself on the side of the door frame. He's slipped off the deck. I mean, right. He just has no regard for his body because he's not showing any kind of self-control. He's like the little Tasmanian devil. So, and we could talk about, auto check-in and watch me and those types of things here coming up. But I basically put, and this is where the conversation I think gets interesting, because you talk about offered versus cued. And I think many of our offered behaviors become cued, but not cued. So here, let me tell you what we do. We come to the door. He's crazy. I will touch the door, right? Is this would you like me to open the door for you? And sometimes he's like, oh, and he'll slam himself into a sit, right? And you can just tell he's buzzing. That's not what makes the door open. What makes the door open is stuff your googly eyes, and you need to check in with me. You need to hold it together for a minute, and then that's the magic word that makes it makes the door open, right? So it's a safety thing now,
right?
But he understands. Yeah, get a grip. Doesn't work. Not for this dog. I've tried. He's a spaz. So it's just one of those. He can hold it together just enough, right? And so The door opens, boom, and then he still takes off running. But that was an offered behavior to get the door to open, which is now almost prompted, right?
Right.
Or would you like it to open? You know what you need to do, and you tell me when you're ready. So I think we can cross the line into when a dog knows what's expected, they still have to offer it, even though I'm cueing it. So I think that's a funny conversation on those blurred lines between the two.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And it depends, like how good of a note taker is your dog? There's some that are amazing, and then the other ones are like, yeah, I don't get it. So
Yeah.
Some go, I get it, but I don't care.
There's
there's that one, but
yeah. Well, no, because like I said, like my beagle, she's still in the follow me or staying with me is still a pretty big thing for her. We're not quite there. I mean, the relationship is growing and it's getting better, but in a year and change, it's not going to be, perfect, especially with all the stuff she had to go through. So relationships take time, and I wish I could say there was a limit or a time, or it should be done by this time. That would be great, but unfortunately, that doesn't work like that. So, no. We love.
I have the other thing you can think about, like some offered stuff, like muzzle training, for example, right? Muzzle training is a good one, and I just popped it into the chat for another video. There's a new dog, super smart dog, that was where he had to learn he has handling issues at the vet, so had to muzzle train him. So I think this was like the first or second time that we worked with him and teaching him how to put his face in. That was the first time. So we always have him impulse control. You got to sit. He wants to dart out, but because this was his first day, and I was he's a pretty smart dog. So helping by feeding him for not going forward, attaching the leash, preventing the door from opening so he can come out. Oh, sorry. So he doesn't know the rules, and you see the shake off. He doesn't know the rules of coming out of there.
Look at the little burner. I can come out.
Yeah. She's like, hey, I'm sitting. Hello. Cody, wake up. He's like, you just got to sit. And then she's moving her feet to prove some of it, to say just because I'm moving, don't, stuff like that. She's helping guiding him out because he's trying to hold it together.
Tango? No.
So, bad shot. So she's going to grab the muzzle, and they've done some stuff with him. And what happened was when they first started doing this, they put squeeze cheese in the muzzle to get him to go in. But now he's so smart. Like he's one of those, he's like, I'll only work as hard as you let me. Right? He's like, what do I have to do? She's prompting him by moving the muzzle. He's like, I don't know. And then we'll take anything. I know he's a little butt. He's like, I don't see the muzzle. What are you talking about?
Exactly.
And this guy's he's around a year old. There was a little bit of touching. He's around a year old. He's a Doe pit mix that was found at her work at 6 weeks old. And then she was going to foster him and whatever and stuff like that. And then find him a home. They had no intent of keeping him. But here he is. This is what happens when you foster. He's like, what's over there? And again, this is like
Adobe face for sure.
He does.
Yeah. I talk about two breeds that I would never put together.
I know.
But he was a leaner too. Like he would lean up on you. So, but he had to offer putting his face by the muzzle and stuff like that. So here's what happened. If you help too much, right? Then he's like, well, I can't put my face in if there's no cheese. So he was testing all the limits to see what the answer was. Then he's like, ugh, I don't want to think. At one point, he jams his head in there. He's like, fine. He's like, how about if I just touch it? But all his stuff reminds me of Dobie. How about if I just do this? How about this? A little bit of this, a little bit of that, right? Ugh, I hate her.
And all with super intensity.
Yes. I know. I'm like, oh my gosh, reminds me of the Dobes we worked with.
Oh my God, yes. You go down and see it. It doesn't exist.
Well, there was somebody to work the other dogs to be quiet in a crate. We had somebody else walking around and paying the dogs for quiet. So then she's going to switch it up. No, she's not. Yeah. So we play this game with him, and I'm not sure how long this video is, but it takes him a bit. Fine.
The video's like 6
Then
minutes.
he figured it out. Yeah. Did you drop it? All the morsels I got him? Was that enough? So on the second time when I was doing this with him, he was jamming his head in and holding it there. Is this enough? Can you pay me now? So, but super smart dog. And then see when she put her hand there, because they were using squeeze cheese for putting the face in and holding. Not that it's wrong, but it's another way. But you can get stuck there, right? You can get stuck, and it becomes you don't put your head in there unless you get the cheese, right? So I think it's really interesting. There, that was a good. How about this? Hurry up! You're too slow. So, but I think like offering this, and then like I said, the next time we worked him, he was like, "Yeah, I understand now." But again, first stay in and look at his body language. He's all over the place because he's all jacked up. How about a paw?
Nice.
Such a stinker. He's one of those dogs that's too smart to be a pet.
Yes.
Dangerous.
He orders his own stuff on Chewy.
He is something else, this one. But yeah. Look at him. He's getting on. Come on. And the Dobermans, man, when they throw pissy fits for, you're not going fast enough. This is not enough information. Hurry up. Now,
or I'm out, right? At least this guy stays engaged with the food.
He does. He's like, there's always an opportunity.
Yeah, he's very, very dope. He looks like a dove in his face for sure.
Yes.
Nice.
Yeah. So it was pretty cool. It's really cool to see it when the dogs are like, their light bulb pops off. I got it. I know what you mean. It's really cool. I love that part.
Well, but don't you find, and I know there's a science when somebody learns something on their own, it's more of their own, and it becomes more of who they are. So, and it goes for us too. Any behaviors we've learned as we've grown up, they become more of who we are because we learned it on our own, or we figured it out on our own. So we learned it, and that's just and then that's it. It stays with us forever.
It's like when you're like young and you're going through different like corporate jobs, right? And learning all the systems. You're like, oh God, another system to learn. I hate it. The whole new computer system. Because I'm not a super techie person, but every time they're like, oh, we have the system, I'm like, crap.
They still do that now, by the way.
I know. I'm
all the time.
Now it's just absorbed. No, just kidding.
Switch, yeah.
But it's true. And then once you get it, you're like, I know it. Right? It's so different. So it's pretty interesting. But you're right. There is some sort of, I thought there was some sort of a paper, some information on that about how they get it on their own. It kind of stays forever. So.
Yeah. Well, and let me look at the study about being self-taught. Go ahead, Joanne.
I think that's one of the reasons why they developed the Common Core math for kids, right? Because it wasn't one way. It was like 3 options of how to do math. And so just allowing the kids to pick which way worked best for them. None of the adults can do it, but
because we're like old school. What is this new math?
Yeah, I don't know how to do that. So, and I think it was just weird. Like, why would you teach 3 ways? But I get it, right? I think that was the first experiment into how do you learn best? There's 3 different ways to get to the same answer, right? Versus, no, you will write it down on the paper and you will do it this way, how we all learned it. So
Right. And the other thing too is learning it on your own. You can learn it at your pace, and you can also learn it your own way, right? Like you said, Joanne said, there's not more than one way to do it, but you can figure it out. Like, oh, this way works better for me, right?
Mm-hmm.
Than being taught, than us trying to teach it the way we want it to be taught, right? Like, oh, the sit should be luring this way. Well, maybe the dog offers it, you capture it, and that seems to be that'll be a better way to do it, right? To get the behavior. So it's one of those things you want to definitely kind of figure out how dogs learn. And some dogs you might learn by seeing it, hearing it, or just very rarely. I don't know about you guys. Have you found that by putting them in that position, doing that physical manipulation, they learn it real well? I don't think they do.
I think they fight you much more for that, right? They don't want that. They'll get off me.
Oppositional reflex, right? You push,
right?
Push against.
Yeah. Right.
Pulling on a leash, same idea.
Yep.
But yes. you had Nancy, you had a video on the auto check-in, which is also offered behavior. That'd be a good one. Or do you have any video, Joanne, on that?
No, I have the up-down game.
Oh, that's right. Well, we can show that one because I think, if you're working on trying to capture or get the eye contact.
I will give it to her since I seem to be choppy chops today.
Choppy chops. Hold on, let me see if I can. Oh, there we go.
So we teach the auto check-in is unprompted, unsolicited eye contact versus a watch me. The only time I don't know about you guys, I would cue it is if I'm going into an obedience ring or a rally ring, and I'd want them to realize they have to pay quite good attention. So they'd have to be offering. So watch me. But the auto check-in I like because, again, if you're a micromanager, then have fun. But if you're not and you want to see your dog figure stuff out on their own without having to always do that, well, this is a really cool exercise.
Can you see it now?
Yes.
Okay. So this was a reactive dog class. This little girl had worried a lot about the environment. So we didn't ask her to check in. We just asked her to checking in, was going to get paid, and she came back on her own. And I think this was the first day she learned it. So it's a short video, but she was looking and...
Well, look at her ears are pinned back. She's worried, right? And licking and stuff like that. And she keeps checking, but you notice towards the end, she starts to smooth out a bit.
Yep. And her handler has done a nice job of being there when she looks back. But that's the other part of the auto check-in, you guys, is you as a handler being there for that dog and saying, yep, I got it. I'll take care of whatever. Because usually this is a really big deal for dogs who they're a little worried and or are going to react, they can be reactive. And the reactivity is really comes from worry. So the auto check-in is really, really helpful. Mm-hmm. All right. I have Joanne's up-down.
Yeah. So the up-down game was,
it's going to have, you need to give me access. So
it should with the link. It doesn't let you in.
No, it's going to say, you'll get an email and so it's probably going to ask you if I can do it.
No, if you have the link, it'll let you in.
Let's see.
No,
so yeah, it's not letting me in.
Okay, hold on.
Go to the drive and see if just...
Yeah, I got you.
So the up-down game is Leslie McDevitt, Controlled Unleashed. And it's a nice segue if they have dogs who don't want to, if you're capturing the offer attention towards it. Perfect. Go ahead, Joanne.
Yeah, so it's basically you put a cookie down when the dog offers you, in the beginning, just basically when they look your general direction, but basically you're going to then move to eye contact. You replace the cookie. So I always say it's like the chicken, right? That little red chicken that drinks the water.
The alcohol commercial.
Yeah. So we were having a super conversation about this because I said I believe this starts to be an offered behavior that turns very much into a cued behavior. And Lisa said, well, why do you think it's a cued behavior? And I said, the prompt is the cookie, right? In the beginning, the dog doesn't know what's happening.
There, yay.
Yeah.
You know, and they do have a choice to offer it to you or not. But once they understand the game, I think it does get a little bit cued, because the cookie means if you look at me, I'll put another one down.
Yeah.
So then you start moving, right? And then, but this is a really cool exercise if you're having trouble getting eye contact. It's a really good way to help slice it thinner, to help the dog figure out, oh, just orienting to you. And then as soon as they realize, oh, orienting you gets a cookie, and you delay it, you're working on a little duration or seeing what they'll do next. Then they look at you like, where's my cookie, lady, right? Or
Right.
sir. And then you can get the eye contact and jackpot that particular piece. So.
Yeah. And you guys, one of the things we want you to get from this, we're not suggesting that you always prompt the behaviors or that you always wait for offered behaviors, because sometimes waiting to try to shape a behavior or waiting for them to offer it, it'll take forever. So I think it's a balance of those two. And like Liz said, it's like they have their place in training, but always trying to get the behaviors like a recall or the follow me. Those are such important skills for the dogs that having them do it unprompted is so much better. Because, and I mean, not that you're not going to teach a recall, because obviously you are, but having the follow me with layering with that recall on top and with a nice loose leash walking, it's so nice, because it's just the dogs are there with you, they're focused and attentive, and it just makes the rest of, makes living with them easier. Because usually that's the biggest complaint we get. He doesn't listen, he doesn't come when he called, he's all over the place. This way you kind of, alleviate a lot of that, and you get some nice a different relationship. They start to check in. It's more reciprocal, instead of you always having to want to check the dog and make sure the dog's okay. The dog's also going to be checking in with you to see what's next or what's happening, right? So it's just just to incorporate part of that into your training plan.
And being able to read when, say, an unprompted behavior isn't going so well, like the poor little golden retriever, right? That if you hadn't given her information, that would have just gone terrible, and she would have been very confused and checked out. So, that was a good video to share. And some people just finding that balance of like, do you actually need my help, or am I being impatient, or are you really stressing because I'm not giving you information, right? So I think that's the fine line of playing with the two of them.
Sure.
Right. Anyway, so if
Time to eat.
No, not you.
he's got yeah. It's the witching hour for his tushy. So next week, come here, Tango. No, next week we're going to be talking about arousal. Surprise, Tango. No, get your toy. Go get your toy. Okay.
I'm sad I won't be here. You guys have already heard all my stories, so it's fine.
Yeah. Everybody's responding to yeah. So yeah, go get your toy. Bring your toy. Go on.
So does my border collie, Liz.
Yeah.
Every time Tango barks, she's like, "Where is he? You just shut him up." All right,
guys. We'll see you all next week. Have a great evening and stay warm. Those of us in the Midwest.
Yes. Thanks.
Bye.
bye.